And of course screen, that's kind of important, right? Well, anyways. I think my... Yep, there goes my elite. Yeah, for a second there it got borked. Anyways. So yeah, greetings to all of the viewers, watchers and all that stuff on all of our ends and whatnot else. Presumably Paroxsym, Exiguous and Obsidian, you're all streaming and all that stuff, so greetings to your chats and folks watching at home. Hopefully everyone's having a decent Friday, if not good. At least for me, it is. Well, my folks are asking for porn music, and no, not gonna happen today. I think. not at least for the reminder of the next hour, 2 hours or so. So, no, just not yet. Anyways, so what are we here for today, or rather, what is this roundtable today about? In essence, mining, the wondrous, joyful gameplay that is mining. Well, on the bright side, at least it's not piracy, so that's not that depressing, but still. Developers actually did come out with a couple of new changes, and as it happens, well, let's get all the hot takes out. So, let's go with basically that info first, and then perhaps move on to some other additional things. Well, I've talked enough, so presumably someone else would be inclined to say something. No? If not, then I can rant on.
Yeah, I can talk. I've got a question for you, actually, TheYamiks. What? You've always kind of been, well, Elite's really RNG, isn't it? RNGs and all that lot. Looks like Frontier kind of going away from that a little bit. Do you kind of get that impression?
No, not really. I mean, the stream that they put up yesterday was all about methods that they'll allow people to mine new stuff that is randomly spawned and generate, well, relatively generated randomly, but regardless, again, things like asteroids and so on and so forth will be put in asteroid belts, new types, and off you go mining them. Right. What you get from them is the same old, you know, bunch of materials that we get from normal mining, but presumably in either bigger quantities? That was not quite clear, but presumably. Then again, presuming that you're gonna get anything better than what you got already. Yeah, not a great idea if you don't want to be disappointed later on. So, I'd say let's just go with the fact that instead of getting more lucrative mining, we're just gonna get more different mining, more in-depth mining. So, no.
Nothing there to suggest to you then that there'd be less RNG involved in it all?
No, they're just pushing out new features. I mean, yeah, Sandy did talk about the, what was it, unidentified signal sources, right? And sure, fine. If you want to make it less RNG, do say so, but as it goes, I'm not trusting that change that Sandy slightly hinted at to be coming out this year, so it's not really worth even talking about. Okay, so, well, no hype for us.
The kind of impression I got from it was with the analysis mode, the new visual HUD, it's kind of going to allow us to see the sort of things we're looking for, at least in terms of mining. He said he's going to extend that to exploration as well, so you sort of get a little bit of an overview of what you're looking for before you actually start digging into it too deep.
It depends. It really depends on how the new analysis mode will work and all that stuff, or the men's right activist scanner. I'm not really sure how that will work. So yeah, I mean MRA scanner. They seriously could have picked a better acronym. I mean, okay, fine, it's better than NRA, but is it really? No. So there you go.
Well, they could have had MRSA, you know, multi-resistant Staph aureus. They could have had that one. That would have been worse.
There are plenty of acronyms that could have been worse, sure, but even so, this one's just...
That one's not such a good one.
Let's go out and search for men. Yep.
Men hiding in asteroids.
Stuff, yes. Okay, but your point about the whole analysis mode bringing in a little bit more deterministic gameplay, sure, it would be nice, but even so, you basically, presumably, they didn't really talk much about the whole scanner thingamajig and analysis mode as to how it will work precisely, you know. All we get from the general idea is that you launch a probe or you scan the thing, and it vaguely shows you what is where or how close and how lucrative or potentially mineable thing is there. As the post itself was written, give me a second, I need to look it up exactly the words that they used, since I don't want to misrepresent things and all that
I might be
stuff.
filling in the gaps too much and kind of using my imagination.
Yes,
the way I
sort
of you reckon? The way I sort of visualized it was a little bit like the interactions with the megaships, where you scan it and you get the little pulse go over the ship.
That's basically how it's gonna work. The same thing will go with Prospector Limpet. When it's shot at the asteroid, it's gonna reveal the specific points at which to shoot or damage, well, poke and whatnot else to.
Yeah, before you
basically, yeah.
I'm sorry, go on.
So basically, you're gonna be shooting a probe into an ass crack, cracking it open, and then poking some other asteroids for the points which you need to poke and prod. So
Am I
the
the
good
only one
stuff
that can already
comes
see
out.
TheYamiks' already can see TheYamiks' video on this?
Probably. I mean, there are endless
It'll be a good
innuendos
one.
you can do with probes and poking cracks and other things. Just saying. Anyways, what was I looking for? Oh, right. Now I remember. Give me a sec. Where was the fucking... right, so... the way they formed the sentence there was... the MRA scanner is created with an eye to introducing... whatever. Introducing an amount of interpretive gameplay. So essentially, it doesn't tell you much about how it's gonna work, but there are already assumptions you can make as to how it might work, right? So yeah, assuming that they are going the way Frontier tends to go in some ways, I suppose they will basically put up some signal sources with the strength amount of I don't know, a value of sorts, and depending how close you are, that value will either increase or decrease, and visually it will be basically represented in, I don't know, color or again number or something. So you might see a number of 10, you know, being like, oh, it's a mediocre sort of a asteroid. As you go closer and closer, that number increases, letting you know and all that stuff. The asteroid has more in it, but it might just be, you know, just an asteroid of value of 2 or 10. I mean 10, yes, and it might be just a shitty ass asteroid. It's just close to you. So yeah, that's why the value was as high. But that's my assumption, and theory crafting is something I try to avoid about. And since, well, again, they're not really showcasing any sorts of actual functional pieces about it. They are not even talking how exactly things will work. Now you're left filling in gaps and blanks and other things. Yeah, I'm not going to speculate. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't suppose it's too much of an assumption, though, is it?
I mean,
imagine
sure.
that the asteroid scanning is going to work similar to the way the megaship scanning is going to work. I mean, they already said that after the pulse, after the scan, we'll be able to see which asteroids have surface elements and which ones have subsurface and which ones are deep core. As far as I understood, we don't have to use the limpet probes to be able to figure that out. The limpet probes are there to let us know in detail which each of those actually have in detail. Is that right?
Not exactly. So the surface level, the new asteroid thingamajigs, the surface one you can easily tell by eye, but the subsurface and definitely the deep core ones in that post were written as they will look the same as the normal asteroids. So yeah, for those you're gonna have to push out another probe and, you know, probe it deeper for the cracks and other things. Probably.
I'm
not sure.
At the bit for Prospector limpets right now, and it does say that the current Prospector functionality will still be available.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming that means that it should just tell us, you know, like what percentage of what is in the dang thing.
Yeah,
still.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Prospectors are changing all that much, but
They're just getting additional.
Prospector is getting
functionality.
additional information and use, because again, in the surface level of new asteroid type, they did mention that again it's going to be you shoot a prospector onto a specific clump, I presume, clump of materials and whatnot else, and it will display further, you know, not that whole asteroids mineable items or points. It will just display the health of that particular point. So I assume they want us to just overuse the limpets, and if that's the case, then fuck now. Again, since they didn't really talk much about it, all they're left is simply
To guess. Try and figure it out.
exactly.
The thing is, the analysis mode will have to highlight the asteroids in one way or another. Otherwise, we're just going to be firing limpet modes at random asteroids, which would seem pretty dumb. They're going to have to be highlighted in some way, so we know which asteroids to shoot the limpet modes at. The limpet prospecting limpets
I
at.
did count up how many clicks you would have to do to properly start mining, and let's see, Exiguous, fuck it, yeah, first of all, let's give
keep going. No, that's great, that's great. That's great.
Okay, so, alright, so the how mining will work now with the new modes, or rather new additional mining asteroids and mining types and things, whatever you want to call them. Anyways, so essentially you first of all arrive at the asteroid belt, right? And even before asteroid belt is being inspected, you can, you know, use the discovery scanner or the detailed surface scanner to, you know, check for specific hot zones or whatnot else. So that's the first thing you do. Then you arrive at the asteroid belt itself, right? So that's another action. Then you shoot out your MRA scanner for, you know, all the malicious men's rights activists. You get the whole, or maybe not the whole, but at least a relative idea as to where more highly valuable deposits are on that proximity to you. Okay. After that, you arrive at specific asteroids, or well, shoot at MRA again to, you know, check for lucrativity or valuable asteroids in general. So you find asteroid that you want. Presumably, actually, MRA might be just like the SRV scanner. Oh my fucking gods, it might actually be like that. So it's gonna be pain. Oh fuck me. Oh no.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had in my head, guys.
You don't like the
Oh
SRV
god,
scanner,
it's gonna happen.
then?
Oh,
SRV
it's gonna
scanner,
be a
that
fucking SRV scanner. Fuck
I
me.
actually
yes.
don't mind the SRV scanner. Do you, Ant?
No, I think it's all right. It's one of the better things about driving the SRV.
I kind of agree.
I'm torn.
Could
on
be
that.
better. That's the thing. It could be definitely a lot better.
Well, sure, right? But I do think it's interesting. I've always liked that mechanic. And for those who've never seen the site wavescanner.net, just to toss that out really quickly, if you guys haven't seen it, it's a great site. It's like a virtual SRV that you can turn on the various items like, you know, chrondites and outcroppings and stuff. And it'll not only play you the sound, but show you visually what the scan looks like, right? So it's a really interesting way to learn, not only to learn to use the scanner, but, you know, what all the different sounds and images are, right? I think I'm kind of with Ant. I actually think that's one of the better things about planetary stuff. And if we did have something somewhat similar to that with asteroid mining, I don't think that would be a bad thing at all.
They did actually say in the, was it in the feedback post, or was it Sandro who said it? But they want players to have to actually learn the scanning process. So the more you do it, the more you get used to it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
So that would suggest, TheYamiks mentioned it, didn't they? The scanner being there for interpretation.
Interpretive
And to me,
mode,
that adds
yeah.
gameplay,
Sure.
which I think that's
Yeah, they talked about that. I'm
now we're
looking at the build right
speculating,
now to
which is
see if it's in
bad,
there.
but
No, I'm just, I'm dreading to see really shallow version of a scanner being tossed at us just to say, well, you got the tool, right? Go for it, use it.
oh, well, we know that's going to
No.
happen in some way.
No, what I want is fucking quality, and thinking that they will basically ape SRV scanner, aka copy it. Well, let me ask you fellas, how did the last thing that they copy, or rather the last big thing that they copy, end up as? That is multi-crew. How did that end up? Huh?
Oh, it's
not
fantastic.
that well. Not that well. So I'm
But
again,
they've
I don't.
continued to expand on it over the last year and a half, so it's great now.
Oh yeah, oh it's great. It's so fucking great that it still crashes and still doesn't load in. Oh, I love that, mate.
Don't worry, Yamiks. They're going to fix that in that big 3.0 update that's coming with all the core gameplay revisions, right?
Sure.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
the funny thing is, this year
got
we're
that
gonna
already.
spend on, going back and fixing and making things better for the game rather than pushing out content, give or take. That's my interpretation of this Beyond series. And
Agreed.
yet, multi-crew is basically being, again, ignored completely, because I understand why it's being ignored, but god damn it.
Well, I'll say,
Still.
before 3.0 came out, I kept saying to everybody, if we don't have the ability to put planetary marker pins, just like be able to drop a pin once you've landed on planet and have SRV multi-crew, like we've got to, surely those things are coming in 3.0. Nope.
No.
Well, kind of the thing about multi-crew, if you look at that
Yeah, go Ant.
with mining and the deep core mining,
Uh-huh.
the process for that, or at least what they're saying at the moment, is you drop one of the deep charges into one of the fissures and you get a timer to get the probes into the other fissures. Yeah, so that combined with multi-crew would surely make mining a little bit easier, as you're about to have multiple people targeting the different fissures.
Actually, as I read that,
I get what
I
you're saying.
assumed that they basically opened the hole and allowed you to shoot as many loads as you wanted in that hole.
You got to target.
What did he
Oh,
just
my
say?
God.
You know what he says, he's never going to get
man.
old. He's got miles and miles to go with this one, he really has.
You've actually got to target the other probes or the other charges into different fissures,
Oh.
so they don't all go into the same one.
So we're probing multiple fissures.
Multiple holes. Sounds
So you're saying these asteroids are multi-entry? Is that what I'm hearing here?
multiple.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay. Carry on.
Yeah. So the point is,
My god.
Yamiks is dead.
he's at it now, isn't he?
Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah.
Yes.
Alright, carry on. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, pretty much.
So multi-crew for mining, especially the deep core charges. Yeah. Different people targeting different fissures.
I
It's
mean,
gonna work
sure,
better with multi-crew, right?
I guess you would be able to. My assumption was that, yeah, sure, you're gonna be able to target multiple ones. Fine, why not? But my assumption was also the fact that one fissure doesn't limit to one load. That's, I don't know, maybe there's just me. Maybe they didn't write it completely, but whatever.
No, it's as you say, it's kind of left open to interpretation, isn't it? Which is part of the problem.
Yet again, right?
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, returning to the whole mining process. So as I said, basically, yeah, the way you're gonna be mining in after that update essentially is you go to a planet with a ring, you shoot out a probe, presumably to find the best, or rather the hotspots, let's just call them, right? Hotspots of that particular ring, you go to that ring, so at that point you already are doing like you have to do 3 particular things, instead of just going to a ring and just plopping your face into it somewhere. So the next thing is, once you arrived into a ring, shoot out the MRS scanner. It shows you relatively where things are, well, where the hotter hotspots are. So you go there, you scan again, you find asteroid or asteroids to mine. You shoot out Prospector Limpet, because, you know, you need to kind of know what type of thing it is, plus get more materials out of it. So that's 5 things you're already doing instead of like 2. And then, of course, well, because that Prospector Limpet reveals what type of asteroid it is, also where are the specific points of well, entry or pokedness are. You pick up a specific tool that you need, and then go poke it in that poke spot. Great. Now you're finally mining. Basically, well, yeah, basically what the new mining changes will amount to is a lot more fiddling around. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Well, depends. It depends whether or not it's gonna be either more effective or more interesting to do. Because when it comes down to UI, oftentimes, you know, when a UI designer has to design something, allowing a player or a user rather to do specific things quickly is a rather important design choice you need to make. And the more stuff you cram, well, in front of that user before the user can actually do what he wants, well, it's a bad thing oftentimes. In fact, almost all the time. So mining needs to somehow at least reward you for more fiddling around, especially if you're going for all 4 types of mining. And yes, there will be 4 types of mining. The normal, current type of mining. The next one is, of course, the surface level mining, that, you know, those pictures that were shown during LaveCon and all that stuff. That's the surface one. And then subsurface and the deep core. So again, 4 types of mining instead of just 1 now. And each of them, of course, requires their own tools. And yeah, it will be dependent on whether or not your time spent, you know, doing that extra work.
So what do you see as rewards then? What do you see as rewards? Credits, or did you mean materials for engineers?
Credits and materials, really. Either one of them, really. If you're going for materials, I can see that. Honestly, I would understand. But then again, materials are also things that you, in real world, want to be able to sell, right? But well, in this game, it's materials are the secondary currency, and secondary currency can, well, at least in Elite, is not supposed to be exchanged for the primary currency.
Yeah. So the good thing is there, though, that they've said that they will be up in the rewards, haven't they?
No.
Yeah, they did.
No. I did ask about that. That was my question that he answered, and he said yes, it will be lucrative. And he followed up by at least 2 credits. So at this point, it's basically just, I don't know, probably. That was his answer. That was Sandy's answer on my question about lucrativeness.
Yeah, that's a typical Sandy answer, though, isn't it?
So at this point, I presume he doesn't know whether or not it's gonna be. But first of all, he's a game designer. It's his job to design, you know, something. Okay, maybe he wasn't the person that designed that particular thing, but still. The design team, let's just go with the design team's task is to balance things and sort of put out those specific rewards. It's their decision that makes, you know, whether or not a thing is lucrative or how much will it be. So it's up to them to create something that will entice us to actually go and do that gameplay. Because without reward, literally, no one would mine and be that real world or not.
That's kind of why a lot of other activities in the game don't get a lot of attention, I think. It's one of the, I don't know how many people interact with the mega ships. I certainly don't go out and interact with the mega ships because there's no worthwhile reward to them. Yeah, the new mega ship gameplay that come out in Chapter 1.
I'm just saying,
Chapter 1,
yeah.
There's not big rewards for that, so.
Well, do you think that there'll be more things tied to mining in terms of maybe unlocks or, like the Celine Jean grind, things like that? Do you guys worry about that coming?
I think they'll up the rewards. I think there'll be high credit payouts, but what they think is worthwhile high credit payouts is probably different to what we think is high credit payouts. But
yeah, exactly.
I definitely think they will increase them.
Where do we see that landing? Does it land in the exploration pay range or the shitty, Thargoid combat pay range, right? What's the time sink? If it's, I think for most of us, we would agree, if you could make, and maybe this is a ridiculous number, but if you could make 20 or 30 million an hour mining, I'd probably go do it and try it. I don't know that I'd do it for very long for that much, right? But I think a lot of commanders would if it was at that, if it was at that pay level. I don't know that I see it coming to that pay level, but if it was, I think that that would certainly help it.
Yeah. One of the really interesting things about credits with Frontier is they've never actually said what they consider a worthwhile or an acceptable amount per hour.
Indeed, I've actually asked this directly to our beloved community managers. I did ask this question to, let's see, I think 2 of them out of all 3, so yeah, still haven't gotten an answer back basically on almost any of the questions, so yay, community managing!
They gave you an evasive answer.
Well, I loved in the stream when they said something about they were talking about the number of commanders playing in open versus private, and Sandra said something like, well, we don't share numbers, and I was like, yeah, no shit, you don't, right? When they said, but the vast majority play in open, which is a different topic, but I just thought it was funny the way he's like, well, we don't share numbers, like, yeah, really, you don't say.
Well, there is that, but yeah. Well, I suppose. First of all, community managers that at least talked with me and provided me with a couple of information pieces here and there, which is highly appreciated. But still, there are. Well, yeah, I might ask some more interesting questions. Let's just go with that certain notion. Some more simpler questions then need to be still answered, and. That sort of, again, Frontier in general doesn't seem to want to communicate too much, and oftentimes it just ends up in isolationism. So,
well, and I was just about to say, do we all complain about that a lot? And I guess the question I have for everybody, and I'm curious if everybody agrees, is that good or bad for the game? Right? Like, should they be communicating with us more, or, is it their game and they can do what they want to kind of thing? Right? I mean, does anybody think it's good the way they handle it now, or that more communication would be better?
They need more specific and direct answers. Well, they need to give more direct and specific answers without just politicianing things around. So that's at least my view on it. Of course, you can't go too far on and just reveal everything. Stand that, which is actually important. So,
yeah, I mean, and it's definitely hard to overpromise and underdeliver, right?
Indeed. On my at least experience when it comes down to game developers and so on and so forth, from Plant side too, developers at the start weren't really talking that much about the game, but now that the game is relatively with a small team behind it and so on and so forth. They're still, they're sharing quite a lot of information, and, well, that might be just because they are heavily relying on community. But when it comes down to Elite Dangerous, I still feel there could be more information shared, definitely. As I said, more direct information rather than just approximations and just maybe we're looking into things and so on and so forth. We just need proper answers, details on specific questions. Though then again, you need to ask those questions first. So, yeah.
I think with LaveCon they went a lot more further than they have for a long time with showing off information, and people really appreciated that. So, I do agree, or I do think that showing information is good for the community, and that is generally good for the game as well. It's certainly not good just being quiet all the time and hiding things away and just revealing little snippets here and there. I think more information like what we saw at LaveCon would do the game really good. There was a lot of that back during 2013 when they were designing the game.
Right. It seems like there was a lot, early on when they were trying to get everybody hyped in, and now that they've kind of, gotten it going and built everything, it's turned into a walled garden and they don't want to share, right?
Sometimes it feels that way, but hopefully with what we saw at WaveCon, they continue to bring, you know, this kind of more open mindset to things. I really appreciate it, and everyone else seems to echo the sentiment.
What do you other guys think? Turjan or Exiguous, you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I definitely think that. I mean, I almost think they can't tell us too much. I mean, I get the, you know, that you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I mean, absolutely that makes sense, right? But I think just more general of even where they're thinking or where they're thinking about going, right? Like, you know, I think the way that this game, you know, I think one of the things that excited me early on and where I used to be a much bigger kind of defender of their practices and stuff was, well, look, guys, you know, this game's got a 10-year development cycle, right? And if it's got that long, you know, there's so much coming, and look at it like we get to play it while it's in beta almost to a degree, right? Well, I think that would be, I think a lot of people would be a lot more into it if they felt like Frontier had a vision and had a goal for things. And you know, I don't want today's stream to turn into just a bitch fest about stuff like this, but at the same time, I do feel like they flounder a lot, and it doesn't really seem like they have a clear vision of what they even want to do. And I think things like Crime and Punishment's a perfect example of that, where it's, oh, well, we want to update Crime and Punishment, but since they don't really seem to know how they want to do that, it just flounders around, because there's no real communication with the community about it, right? I mean, you know, like it's different right now because we did just get out of WaveCon, right? So, you know, we do have some idea at the moment of what's going on, right? But generally, that's absolutely not the case, right? Generally, we're all sitting here wondering, scratching our heads, you know, what are they even thinking about doing next, right? You know, we knew 3.0 was going to be a big, you know, supposedly big reworking of core gameplay and stuff like that, and you know, other than that, we didn't really have that many specifics at all. And I think it, certainly for me, was pretty disappointed with what we actually did get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, the Frontier's communication, I won't say skills, their communication profile is legendary now over the years. Because of
they've just dug themselves a big hole. Yep,
mostly
exactly.
failings, that's the thing. Now, you have to sort of asking why. How is that the case? Because, you know, they've got managers, they've got PR people, they know how, some of their people know how to talk to people. There is always the worry that they might give something away, and you know, but they've done that anyway in their videos.
Yep.
They put out a video of, oh, look, here's a planet with something interesting on it, and the community, being what it is, finds it before they want it found. You know.
Yep. Yeah,
because that's the community you've got there. You give them a tiny clue and they'll follow it. The trouble is, as we've seen from Canon, if you ever looked at Canon's Discord or something, it's like pure liquid tinfoil territory. You know, you give them one crumb and that's it. They're off on everything. So you have to strike a balance between giving all of your player base something and everything, and they're just not doing that properly. You know, they tease things like TheYamiks was saying the other day about you know, am I naked? Am I going to show you that I'm naked? Am I really going to do that? No. Am I? Well, you don't know. I could be, but am I? I'm not. And you think, would you stop teasing? Would you just show us something?
Oh, right.
One way or the other.
The context there was basically that developers are about the crate. It was about the crate. The whole fact that they released a fucking video about it on their main official media, and they are still being coy about it. And I'm like, that doesn't make fucking sense. Are you? Do you even follow what's going on with your own public image of the game, or you're just being, I don't know, coy for the sake of it? Which is kind of stupid and cringy in that way. And that I really don't like. But that's just my, of course, perception. Others might just like the whole coy attitude, which is fine.
Well, I think the sad thing is, you know, because of the way they communicate, whenever there is something big coming and stuff, you guys tell me if you're the same way, I generally, at this point, assume I'm going to be disappointed rather than assume I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. And I think that's because of, you know, over the years, the culture that they have built for some reason, right, around not really telling us anything. Like, you know, I keep going back to multi-crew that, you know, yay, we're going to get multi-crew, we're going to do this thing, but they don't really tell us really what we're going to get at all. And then we get it, and it doesn't even remotely live up to the expectations, right? I mean, how after a year and a half can we still not mix wings and multi-crew? Right, you know, you know, and I think that because of that, and because of the lack of communication, and when you do get those little crumbs, the only thing the community's left to do is speculate. So we do, so then it builds this, you know, this bad cycle of we speculate, we want this, and maybe that's what we're going to get, because surely when we get an engineering buff to grade 5 for grade 4 materials, they're not going to scramble every single recipe in the game because they don't tell us anything, right? And I think I don't get why that is. Yeah, YamiKs, go for that.
Right, so, I don't know, maybe it's just my weird perception, or perhaps my chronological follow... I don't even know how to call this. Anyways, I've noticed a little interesting thing about Frontier. Well, maybe it's just, again, coincidental, but still. The things that developers tend to hype people about, like, you know, multi-crew, power play, fucking Guardians, and other things with their official media and so on and so forth, just eventually just turns into a pile of shit. And yet, probably the most exciting things, or rather the most useful and interesting things, like, you know, the 20,000 light year route planner and a few other things they barely ever mention, and they turned out to be the fucking greatest things ever. At least that's what I've been, you know, noticing. Maybe, again, maybe it's just me.
No,
but,
yeah, you're right. I agree with that. It's the uncertainty of their communication that's the problem. You know, it's intermittent and vague, and you don't know who you're talking to one day to the next. Inconsistent is the word. Yes, inconsistent communication.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
Why do I constantly think of those stupid Star Citizen promotional weekly videos when I see when I hear consistent promotion, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm fixated on the fucking garbage, basically, so never mind me. Also, don't buy into Star Citizen, not a good idea. But that's another story.
Wait, what? I was about to go buy that $27,000 ship pack. I shouldn't get that.
Wait, you're saying basically like a Scorpius? Ah,
wait,
okay.
I was gonna buy a car, but instead I think I'll buy some digital spaceships in a video game, right?
No. You're gonna buy concept art that may or may not be a spaceship in one day.
I was gonna ask if you enjoy rectal exams.
Obsidian?
No, we'll leave those for YamiKs channel.
Obsidian? Hype?
Yeah, go Obsidian.
Yeah, so the whole thing with devs hyping content, it kind of went a bit backfired on Frontier back when they had the whole offline mode fiasco. I don't know how many of you were around for all that.
Yes,
that was way before my time.
Mine too, but I still hear that constantly being talked about.
I kind of think that really stung them a bit, and since then they've really backed off a lot of the hype of the game. But as YamiKs points out, it's just the things they hype as well. Sometimes they hype, like with multi-crew, they hyped it up quite a lot, and then it was never really anywhere near what it could have been or perhaps should have been. So there is certainly a balance to be struck there, but I do wonder how much of the lack of communication from them comes from the fact that they perceived, from Frontier themselves, they perceived that the community kind of kicked them in the balls after the whole offline thing.
Well, and for even me a little bit, for folks that don't know kind of that back history, will you give us a little bit of that backstory?
Yeah, so it's back in December 2012. That's when the Elite Dangerous Kickstarter first come out. And it's actually a funny little thing, really. I always
actually no. I'm gonna be nitpicky here, and that was November, I believe.
November 2012. No, you're right.
November 8th, I think it was, and it ended on January 5th or something like that.
Yeah, they put it out for 2 months, which was
Them
quite
facts,
unusual, most Kickstarters went up for a single month, didn't they, back then? They still do, for the most part.
Mostly a month.
Yeah, I still can't remember when the Kickstarter went up. It was just like,
Yeah.
you were talking about information. It's relevant, really. They put the Kickstarter up, and it was basically a logo of the Elite Dangerous logo.
Okay.
Maybe just the Elite logo and a couple of paragraphs of text, and that was basically it. You know, David Braben's back to make a new Elite game. Give us your money. And
That was pretty much it.
No, you should have seen Star Citizen,
actually.
mate. You should
And it
have
took
seen
quite a
that.
few. It took quite a few days of people nagging at Frontier for them to start putting more information out there. But they,
Oh yeah, you made a video of the timeline of that, didn't you?
yeah. Obviously, they want people to give them money, and one of the ways to do that on Kickstarter is to tell people what it is you're going to give them. So the lack of information there really did hurt the Kickstarter for quite a few weeks. But they soon started promising things, and one of the things they promised, people were saying, "Is it going to be a multiplayer online only game?" And Frontier said there will be an offline mode, and what that basically meant is that you'd be able to play it without an internet connection.
Yeah. Okay.
And the way that would work is you'd have to dial in and check into these servers, maybe weekly or maybe monthly, and you'd get like a download pack of everything that's been going on with the background sim. So basically sync in your offline universe with the online one, and it'll basically sync anything you've done with the servers as well, so to update that, so you could still have an impact on the game. So that really got a spike in. Yeah, that got a spike in pledges. A lot of people backed the game thinking, right, good, we go on an offline mode. I don't want to play online, or I can't play online, or whatever. So that really got a massive spike in pledges around about that time. And I think it was only a very short while before release of the game in 2014.
Yeah.
It may have been a little bit earlier than that, the release of the beta. I can't quite remember. But I do know that the game was in a playable state, more or less, by the time they said that there wasn't going to be an offline mode. They actually said it's not something they could do. And they, down to technical issues or whatever, that so much stuff is running on the servers that it can possibly...
Yeah, I mean, I can't even see how you do this game. Yeah, I don't see how you can do it.
Actually, the way they handled that and the explanation, I won't call it an excuse. Let's be fair. It was an explanation. They did explain it. It says an awful lot because it harks back to what we said about communication problems. It gives you an insight into their overall mindset about how they operate things, because Michael Brooks essentially said that they'd always wanted to do the offline mode because they'd promised it, but they focused all their attention on the multiplayer galaxy, the multiplayer world, the interaction, the background simulation, the mighty background simulation, that when they came time to look at the offline mode, right, everybody, let's look at this, they realized that they couldn't integrate an offline model into their background sim without essentially creating another galaxy for it. And that was too much work, and they just couldn't, they didn't have the staff and the manpower and effort at that time to do it. And so they made a dreadful decision to go back and we can't give you this offline mode that we promised. Now, you know, it's fair enough, but the point is they went too far down that road before realizing that was the case. And that's the mindset that they have a problem with in my view. It's the same with all of their communication problems. It's the same when they ask for opinions from people and get them and then don't follow them. They introduce unpopular things because they weren't listening. You know, they've decided to go down this road, and then when they turn around and look to say, oh, well, should we change it? The people want something. They realize they can't because they've already committed.
Right,
and
they're too
same
deep
with
in.
the communication. Yeah, the communication is the same problem with the inconsistency of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's quite a lot of the problem with things that do go on. They back themselves into the corner.
Yep.
And I wonder if they've done that a lot with the code of the game as well. Obviously, that's something we can't really see, but I do kind of wonder, especially with the whole Beyond thing. They've, what we're now, nearly 3 years since Horizons has come out, and we haven't had another season or another expansion since then. I know you can consider, or some people might consider Beyond to be a separate expansion that's free. But
well, think about the backers that paid, that paid for the big, lifetime subscription that was over $100, wasn't it, back in the day? And we've gotten we've gotten Horizons, and that's it, as paid, as additional quote unquote content, right?
Exactly. I mean, the lifetime pass come out at different prices during the Kickstarter. I think depending on when you did it. When you did it, it was £80, I think, for the original Kickstarter. Okay. And then after that, shortly after that, it was made available for just 30 quid for £30 you could buy the lifetime pass. That was on top of the purchase of Elite itself. But
Yeah,
then when Horizons was released, I think a lot of people actually purchased it then. It was like 120 quid.
Okay. Well, you know, one of the things that we joke about, and I'm curious if everybody thinks this is a joke or not, is that Frontier doesn't seem to play Elite, right? I certainly don't think they play
Stop
it
right there.
like we do. Well, I mean,
no, fuck you, Exiguous. I can tell you right now. No, just seriously, fuck you, because in LaveCon, I was sitting behind Steve Kirby, who was playing on his own not Xbox, but Potato Station.
Okay.
On his own account, so fuck you.
Okay, so you think that's wrong then? I mean, I'm not.
Yes,
we
right.
joke about it. That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm
there
asking.
You go.
Right?
But no, seriously.
All right, let's qualify it. They don't play it enough.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I said.
That one is true, probably.
Right. I mean, remember what I said. They don't live with it the way that we live with it.
No, but no, I understand. No, yeah, I again, that was just a jokey little thing that I remember from LaveCon, right?
I haven't gotten told off by Yamiks in a while. That was fun.
It always is fun, isn't it? Yeah,
it is.
Post something off topic here, and you'll get more.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah. But when it comes down to developers not really playing their game, now obviously we realize that they see the stuff behind the scenes. For example, you yourselves, you are content creators, you make again videos and all that stuff. So now the way you see videos as a content creator from that perspective, you know, you won't look at someone else's work just the same way as a fan would, obviously, especially your own work. You'll probably focus on details like transitions or particular scene, composition of it, and of course lighting as well as color correction and so on and so forth. You're not gonna focus on really the stuff that perhaps a fan would notice, and that's this. In a way, it spoils your perception, and well, to that point, that's why they should properly contact their test teams, their QA teams for that gameplay perspective. But well, when it comes down to QA team and so on and so forth, they're probably busy again retesting whether or not, or rather, what type of garbage the coder has made. So they're kind of busy and all that regard. So that's the unfortunate reality about, again, just any kind of development. When it comes down to, programs and stuff, or even just, again, magic shows even, let's just say entertainment, any kind of entertainment. You see behind that, typical veil. You see details that go behind once you know what makes what, or how things are made, once you see the sausage being made, well, you never look at the sausage exactly the same way, especially if you're using it as a dildo. But anyways, that's a different topic.
There it goes. There it goes. There it is.
But yeah, that's the issue. And yes, you need someone to tell you, how the game feels. But that first experience is, again, first experience. How many more people will you hire to tell you that sort of information? That's, well, it's hard. It's hard to really get that point correctly. And then, yeah, when it comes down to Elite Dangerous, yeah, they don't play the game the way we do. Even if they could try and play the game the way we do,
well,
they won't get the same experience.
Probably my biggest gripe about the whole communication problem, because I've always maintained it in sort of jokey, half jokey way, that there's two versions of Elite Dangerous, the one that we get to play and the one that the devs play. And the one that the devs play is essentially based on galactic powers and the power play, the background sim. So they're playing Sim Galaxy in the background. They've got the Sim Galaxy running, and they're enjoying that. They're indulging that, and hey, look, this is all going. And we get to play this sort of cut down version of Freelancer, and they try to stop us from doing anything that would interfere too much with their background sim game. because they're so invested in that. Oh, we don't want players mucking about and ruining the background sim that we've got going here. So try and stop them, stall them. You know, put a block in the way that's going to slow them down and stop them ruining our background sim because we're enjoying this. That's what it feels like sometimes. I'm sure that's not remotely the case.
It's basically like a writer writing
like
himself into a corner and using Deus Ex Machina to get out of it.
Yeah.
There you go. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry for cutting off.
Oh no.
No, that was it. That was the point.
And now, because I cut him off, conversation has completely stopped. Good job, Yamiks. You're a piece of shit. Great.
You broke it.
Damn it. Sorry, folks. Show's ended. We're going home.
Back to the mining.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's probably another thing where they've, talking of writing themselves into a corner. A lot of people point out that many of the game mechanics are kind of placeholder, and I think mining was certainly that way, especially before they put limpets in.
That's what piracy feels
like. Then, but yeah, there's many other things I do think are placeholders, but
it's just like afterthought. Oh, yeah. Oh well.
Well, either an afterthought or the fact they just didn't have the time to implement it in the way they wanted to implement it, so they just thought this would do for now. But then, in terms of code and in terms of time, you probably get to the point where, how can you change it? If you change this, it's going to have a knock-on effect with that. Or even, depending on the code, if you can change it. And I'm kind of, that's obviously one of the reasons why we're at where we are now, with waiting for all these changes to come in for Beyond. All this time after the game was released, we're only really just getting around to improving mining. I think it's a good thing that they're doing it, but I think it's right for people to ask, why is it taking so long? I certainly don't think it's wrong for people to ask that anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right, Obsidian, that a lot of the game, it certainly feels placeholder, doesn't it? Right? And, you know, we were talking in chat earlier today about, you know, for example, USSs. I mean, that's, to me, that's the one of the biggest examples of placeholder in the whole damn game, right? I mean, how is searching for USSs any kind of quote-unquote gameplay?
Not really. I can actually, in my view, USSs, the unidentified signal sources, essentially are random encounters in any other game, and that random encounter now is basically made as a core part of the gameplay that you know, for someone that is a completionist, or even somebody that, you know, goes a little bit in depth into the game, needs to do and needs to know how to properly make RNGs spunk out rather than left but to right. Yeah, you need to just massage his rod correctly, and that is going to a different, you know, system and whatnot else. And the saddest thing is that they basically made a random encounter into a gameplay, a core gameplay portion, or rather an important core gameplay part for engineering. Imagine right now playing Skyrim, or for example Fallout, right? Going around the roads, just going around the roads, you know, hoping for that one cat dude to just walk past you, right? You know, the one, right? That's how it feels, and that's how it is. Unfortunate, but there you go. And no one has anything to say. Well, perfect. That's yet again, Yamiks just ruins everything. Fuck it. I should just go, right? That's it.
No, I agree, Yamiks. It's
You're
one
a
of the
hard
worst
act to
things.
follow.
I really think it's one of the worst things about the game. Is the USS. Yeah. I mean,
God.
The whole idea of making the galaxy feel alive, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But one of the things that really makes it feel as though you're actually playing a game. You're obviously playing a game, but one of the things that really rubs that in your face is when you're just sitting there waiting for the right signal source to spawn in front of you.
It's not a dick.
Yeah, you know it's not that. You've got to go looking around. It's just, you're not going to find it if you go to the right place. You're not going to, well, the location does have an effect, I guess, because it
definitely it should have.
Not to the degree it does at the moment, does it? I mean, basically, as long as within reason you're in a shipping lane, or whether you're in deep space, for example, as long as you're there, then sooner or later it's going to spawn. It'll spawn right in front of you. So yeah, It's
It's
I hope they fix
basically,
it. I hope
again,
they
it's
change
just
that.
random encounters made into a core gameplay. I mean, who likes that? No one. Well, there you go. But that's what we got. Random encounters, core gameplay.
I think that
Go
kind of
fuck
comes back to the point.
yourselves.
I think that comes back to the point I was making about mining earlier on, though. Yeah, using the new HUD mode to try and get away from some of that.
Actually,
yeah, it seems like they've listened. God forbid. It does seem like they've actually
maybe
listened.
not. I highly
Maybe
doubt it,
I'm
though.
kind of personally I'm kind of torn on that because like if you really look at the post and read it through and kind of follow things through to their logical in-game conclusions, there's actually the potential for more RNG in here than what we have already.
Indeed. Indeed, it does.
I mean,
More
whether or
no,
not
it's
it
just the
manifests
same.
itself in that same, like crappy
That's
feeling that we
the
get
thing,
though
isn't
is, yeah, it's the feeling, does it feel gamey and nonsensical, or does it mask itself well enough to where
Well,
you
you
don't
know-
want to flip a table and throw crap out the window?
Yeah, I mean, Yamiks was saying earlier about like magic shows and things. And essentially, there's only really, I think it's my brother would know. He's a professional musician. I think there's only 7 magical effects, is what it comes down to, and everything that you see is built on one variant of that or another. But it's all about how you present it and
Yep.
the deception and how you manage to get some of the misdirection and get someone to look one way and not the other. And that's what Frontier aren't very good at. Half of you can do a lot of cheap storytelling if you want to with misdirection and getting people to look certain ways with limited things, but they're not even doing that. They're just relying too much on the random. That's the thing. And again, it all comes back to the whole where are they going? Communication road to nowhere thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What are we on about now? No, okay. Well,
I was actually going to bring it back to something
Okay.
that
Sure,
I
please.
mentioned in the chat here a little bit ago, but I just never got a chance to touch on. And that was the mention of stackable modules that Sandro
Yeah.
had
limpet
just
controller.
briefly touched on.
That sounded good. At
You mean
least.
the limpet
Well, like
controller or not?
like limpet controllers, scanners, that kind of thing.
Sure.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
He
I had
was
a
making
couple
it sound as though like you could like stack them, like you could put in some sort of
Oh.
rack and then stack them.
He
Yeah, the way they
mentioned
described that was like having it like a SRV
ship launch
fighter plane.
ship
Yeah.
launch fighter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically like that.
Yeah, something like that, where you could put some sort of rack in, and then inside that rack you could put X number of, say, like scanners or limpet controllers, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, somebody asked in my chat, if we're gonna have all these new modules and potentially limpets and stuff like that, where the hell are we gonna put all that? We're gonna, is everybody gonna have to fly anacondas for exploration and mining? Which, I mean, I know they're good at that anyway, but is that going to be a barrier to entry for some folks?
No. See, the same thing goes with Elite Dangerous as with everything else. With the bigger ship, you are able to just do more of it.
Of course.
I had the same actually concerned when it came down to mining. They are introducing already at least three more modules, right? 3 more hard points, and for example, if they put those modules as a large only, one of them, large only, or huge even, then only a specific amount. In fact, if you put it as a large, about 60% of the ships currently wouldn't be able to do that specific part of mining, which is fine if you want to limit specific things, but yeah, the way ships are currently made and other things, yeah, module size wouldn't be making much sense, because for example, Type 7, typical mining ship doesn't have any medium or larger slots, so yeah, you're basically screwed if you're picking up or hoping to do bigger mining with that sort of a thing. But yeah, modules, limiting, and all that stuff. Wonderful. That's all I can say, basically.
About making certain ships actually do the role they were supposed to do. like exploration ships. So I mean, one thing that's always annoyed me about the Asp Explorer is you've got 2 size 2 slots, and you're only ending up putting in one size 1 module in each one. So that's like 4 slots that are going to waste because you're not doing anything. And we've asked, the Explorer folk have asked for like literally years, why can't we put an advanced discovery scanner and a detailed surface scanner in the same size 2 slot? You know,
or
it
maybe
makes no sense that you can't.
Yeah, or make it so that maybe you'd have to take, like, you could put a size, put something in a size 3 slot that would turn a size 3 into 2 size 1s. You know, like some kind of cost like that, I think would be fair too. But yeah, I completely agree. You know, like I look at my Explorer Conda, and I've got a discovery scanner, I think in mine, and it maybe a class 4 slot even, right? You know, because there's not, I need 2 class 1 modules, but there's not 2 class 1 slots anywhere. You're exactly right.
My explanation from the story perspective on that would be, imagine a ship having a specific, let's say, size 3 slot, right, for internal module. Now that slot only has 2-3 mounting points for the tool inside, right? And that is the same thing for everything else. You could potentially put in another device in it, but it wouldn't be mounted, and therefore it would rack around and bump about and so on and so forth. So that is the only real reason from the story perspective that I would explain, not being able to put in more, specific things into a larger slot or splitting it up. So, yeah. It's just me, of course.
Well, I mean, I think about, if this was real, right? I would go to a guy and say, "Hey, dude, will you convert this big slot 4 for me to put 2 slot 1 modules in it?" Well, sure, I'll just pack that together. I mean, right? It just seems like that would be an easy lore thing, and
in reality, that's been done already. So yeah.
Right.
I think they really realised that they need to do something about these ships. So it's one of the reasons. So that's when the exploration probes are a good example of that. When that was brought up, Sandro said they don't want people to have to return back to the bubble in order to fit new exploration modules, especially when they're already maybe 30 or 60,000 light years away from these stations. And so basically, they're gonna just upgrade the existing modules. The surface discovery scanner, or was it detailed surface scanner?
Yeah,
will basically get these probes and they'll use them as ammo rather than as limpets. So I definitely think they're aware that something needs to be done with the ships, because clearly it does. We're getting all these extra modules and we've got nowhere to put them. And the ships do need to be specialised, because otherwise everyone just gravitates towards a certain ship and everyone's got the same ship in the end.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I think we all agree that the Type 9 buff was great to finally make the Type 9, something worth using for cargo, over, say, an Anaconda even, right? Everybody, why is it we've all said this, the multi-role ships are generally always better than the dedicated ships for their tasks.
Well, that's true. There's this thing called balance that's not very present in Elite, so we know who to blame about that one now, do we? So, yeah. Here's me beating yet another dead horse, but hey, I won't let that opportunity pass me.
We're all beating it with you. Wait a minute, that didn't come out right, did it?
Oh my!
No.
This
Especially
stream
given
is
who I'm
wonderful.
talking to, man. Wow.
This stream has turned into something wonderful, hasn't it?
It sure has.
Oh my! Right. Actually, there is one question in a quick, short burst. What do you guys think about the current UI?
Do you mean the in-ship UI or the?
No, in general, just the UI that you have
one.
in game. That is the ship HUD. That is all the the interface pieces for the game. The panels and so on and so forth.
I'd love to see different HUDs, right? I mean, the fact that it's always seemed odd to me that every ship has the exact same HUD. Like, it's not like Mercedes, BMW, and Audi all use the exact same dashes. Why would Lakon and Core Dynamics and Falcon to Lacey all use the same HUD? And I get it from a development perspective and things like that. But I personally would love to see different HUDs, even if, God forbid, they were, DLC or paid content, right? If I could spend $5 or $10 and buy a whole new HUD outline or layout, I do that in a heartbeat personally.
I'll take this little moment to remind people that the developers said that this year there will be some paid options coming along, so
Don't say it's going to be HUDs.
who knows. Wink,
I
wink.
haven't heard that, so that's okay. I had not heard that yet.
They did say that in the Frontier Expo, or rather during the reveals there. So yeah, everyone's been wondering what the fuck are they talking about. What's
because we're
paid
halfway
thing?
through the year. Yeah, we're halfway through the year, and they haven't hit one pip about any of that stuff yet.
My fear really is that they will link that whole big paid stuff, basically with squadrons, which will make it just disgusting. Well, depending on the way they do, but I have this that uneasy feeling, especially when it comes down to fleet fucking carriers, which I personally think shouldn't be in the game. But well, that's just because I find them more of a problem than a benefit. But because forums want some new stuff, because PvP folks and other people say that what's the point of feature that doesn't really add anything to the gameplay? Well, sorry, no, guild system adds to the gameplay tremendously, and if you don't think that alone should be enough, then well, what kind of an ass are you thinking through? Or
I definitely agree with that.
So yeah, that's my opinion.
So you don't think the paid DLC is going to be atmospheric planets then?
No.
Well, I could see that atmospheric planets being paid DLC for Elite 4.0, right? For the
that's
whole next
most
revision,
likely,
right? But I don't see it coming. I mean, there's no hints that atmospheric planets are coming at any time this year or in the Beyond series.
Oh, definitely not. They still have at least one specific thing that they didn't implement in Horizons, but I'm not gonna talk about that. I think Obsidian knows what I'm talking about, but let's move on.
I don't.
Again, I'm not under any NDA, yet Obsidian is, so I'm just gonna end that.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So there we go. Moving on. So
no reason to get anybody in trouble.
Yeah, let's get down to actually, continuing about the mining. What else did we miss?
Well, one of the things,
all the dick jokes.
Did we talk that much about credits and pay? One of the questions I've had a couple times in my chat is, in general, what do we think is a good pay level period? Like if you're an elite player,
so let's go one by one.
What should you be making?
In that case, Exiguous, you rose that question. You go. What's your ideal?
I would say that I would think an elite ranked player, right? And let's just make this easy and assume they're elite in trade, right? I would think you should be able to make a minimum of 25 million an hour with any activity you're really going to engage, right? I think that's a completely reasonable level. Like when 3.0 launched and the wing missions came out, and right up front we could make, a wing of 4 Type 9s that were all elite could make 100 million an hour easy. Or not easy, but you could make 100 million an hour. To me, that was absolutely made sense, right? You've got 4 players in the biggest cargo ship, all ranked elite. Of course, you should be making that level. For me personally, unless I'm broke for some reason, I don't go grind credits unless it's at least 100 million an hour. And honestly, I usually wait till a gold rush that's in the 200 million hour range. Right now, I think those are somewhat broken. I think 100 million an hour is they've always kind of left those alone, and so I think that's good. But I think it's a shame that there's always one specific thing, and it's usually something really boring that pays that level. And we've talked about this before. The fun, riskier parts of the game, like combat or Thargoids, don't pay for shit, right? So I would say 20 to 25 million is, would be absolutely reasonable.
Okay, Paroxsym, how about you? What do you think is let's call it more ideal making money rate for you?
I mean, me personally, I'm going to say probably 35 to 40 is what I would call ideal. And that's just because I feel like at that rate, I'm progressing enough to where I don't feel like I'm being I don't feel like the game is trying to hold me down at that point. Like, I feel like the gains are enough to justify the time I'm spending. That's really all it boils down to for me. I mean,
quickly, I'm guessing you
That's
guys are
simple.
like me. I look at grinding credits like the work that I have to do so that later I can go do what I want to do and not play toward credits, which I don't
That's
think
pretty
you
much
should
how
play
the game currently is being played,
Well, it is,
unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should play the game, quote unquote, to earn credits, but I think it's a shame that the two never seem to line up.
pretty much. I mean, you guys know that I do PvP from time to time. Whenever I go to do it, I'm almost assured to lose a few million at some point during the course of the night.
Everyone does.
And
Of course.
yeah, so you got to be able to replace that, especially because some of these ships, and you take them in, like, their rebuy is going to be stupidly expensive. And you get one cheeky fucker with, Cascade Torps or something like that, you're done. You're basically done. So, yeah, that's all it takes. And you can be out, in some cases, you can be out 20, 30, 40, 50 million or more, and
Yep,
that's
very
a
quickly.
lot. Yeah, like, that's a lot. I think one day I went out to to do my usual PvP nonsense. I must have lost 120 million that day. I didn't care. I had fun, but it took me, Jesus Christ, it took, I think, probably 2 or 3 weeks for me to make that money back. So,
I think I've got the most. I'm at 1.45 billion in rebuys so far. So
Yeah, you have slightly more than me. I have, let's see,
it's a lot.
1.1 or something. So yeah.
okay.
My
we're
wank
close.
tank destroyed a couple of times, unfortunately. Oh well.
Oh well.
Yeah.
The thing I kind of think, in terms of credits, would be good is just to have enough to cover your ship the rebuy cost of your ship within an hour. So, if the amount of credits you earn scaled with the ship rebuy, so it depends on what ship you're in, that wouldn't be such a bad place to start.
Yep.
But I could turn the question around as well and ask you some questions about that. Actually, is
Let's get through this question, but okay.
Well, no, it's related as we're
Well, no,
talking
yeah,
about mining.
Okay.
Do you think all activities should have the same credit value per hour? And if not,
No.
what would you like to see?
Risk versus reward.
Yeah.
Simple
What would
answer
you like
there.
to see as a value for the mining? I guess it depends how much risk is in it. We don't really.
Yeah. I would say from the risk that it feels like would maybe be in it, like if what I would imagine the highest level of risk possible, I would think that should pay. And for where mining can be a little tedious, I think it should pay in the 15 to 25 million an hour range. Again, an elite player, Anaconda, all the bells and whistles, the most you could possibly make, right? Of course, like you said, Ant, if you're a new player and you're doing it in a Cobra, you're maybe making 3 to 5 million an hour, right?
Yeah.
At least that's where I'd go. What do you guys thought?
Oh, I got the tirade, so Turjan,
Well, I was
you
going
can
to say
go
before
for it.
that, Ant, answer your own question, Ant. What would you think?
Well, I still think, to an extent, obviously, it is really credits need to be tied to the ship you're using. I mean, someone in my chat's just saying they disagree with that kind of because, or at least that the amount you earn shouldn't be tied to the insurance costs because it means everyone's going to go for the bigger ships. But everyone goes for the bigger ships anyway because they obviously.
Well, they are
earn
more
enough amount of
useful
money.
in all the ways. Simple
Exactly.
as that. It's pragmatism,
But,
obviously.
But really, the ships should be specialized, so you'd go less in that direction. So maybe a ship that's medium sized, that's been specialized for mining, would earn you more money than an Anaconda mining.
You mean like Asp Scout being minor?
Well, whatever.
At least there would be one
medium-sized
use
ship,
for that
whether
piece of
it's-
shit.
Yeah, whether it's an Asp Scout or whether it's a Type 7, I don't know. But if the ship's specialised in an activity, then it should do better than, in terms of credit rewards, than the larger ships that are not specialised. At least I would see it that way.
I would have to agree.
Definitely, that makes sense. I mean, why not? Of course. Unfortunately, for exploration, there's no specialized ones, and
At least
Let's
not at
see.
the moment. I
and
think
yet
hopefully
passenger
that's the way
missions
it's gonna
do.
go, but-
Even they actually were there before passenger missions were a thing. So that's a funny thing.
Well,
Anyway,
that's the question. Can you make more in an Anaconda or a Beluga?
Anaconda, well, Parutis, that I'd say both are equal. I just choose personally. Yeah, current money making
use a
thing is
Beluga for
Barutis, Beluga and Anaconda are basically equal. Difference is in the rebuy as well as the speed and ease of use. I prefer Anaconda because it's easier to use. I mean, those fucking wings.
If you're doing the long range ones, well, if you're doing the long range passenger missions, the Anaconda is going to be 10 times better.
Also, that definitely.
Okay, so I disagree. Why do you say that? I think the Beluga is better for the long. You said the Anaconda is better for long range by a long shot. Why do you say that?
By a long shot.
I think the Beluga. See, I think the Beluga is by a long shot better because you can, because it's the same number of cabins. It's cheaper and it's a lower rebuy. So I do it to Beluga because I want to use another. Yeah, but long range passenger. Wait. When we say long range, are we saying like jump into SAG A, or are we talking about Brutus Mev missions?
When I say long range, like we're looking at ones that are 5,000+ light years.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. The Anaconda. Yep, sorry. Absolutely right.
Yeah, there's the other one. There's like the regular sightseeing ones that'll take you like 500 or so light years around the bubble. Those aren't so bad with something like a Beluga. But
no, you're totally
the like the long range ones where X Bozo wants to go to Timbuk freaking 2 and see this thing.
Yep, you're 100% right. Sorry.
So there you go.
And again, would we agree that that's kind of sad because the multi-role ship outdoes the the dedicated ship? Because does anybody fly a Beluga so they can run luxury cabins?
Fuck no! I mean, those wings are so hard to use.
Went out as well, yeah. There should be surely a large difference between an Anaconda and a Beluga. What's the point of the Beluga otherwise?
Right. Just right.
The thing with that is the luxury missions are so rare that it makes buying the Beluga, the Dolphin, the Orca, it makes them useless for that because they don't show up often enough.
Yep. Also, there's
I
the
don't
fact
think I've seen one for a year.
No. See, luxury missions get spawned when you pick up a luxury vessel that can pick them up. I think, or at least that's how my mission board is.
Well, they
conditioned.
do, but they still don't pay shit, right?
The funny thing is, luxury missions don't pay more. Right. Rarely do they pay more. Actually, oftentimes you find economy passengers or other economy passengers paying almost 10 times as much as luxury or any other one. Just saying. It's interesting, randomly generated stuff, I can tell you that.
So if we're talking about specialized ships, and we're going to get, maybe, who knows, in Chapter 4 we start getting specialized module slots, so they start adding in specialized module slots for mining ships. What ships would you like to see getting those slots?
I can tell you right now, not theory crafting here, so you can go wild, fellas.
I don't think that's theory crafting, Yamiks. What ship?
That is theory crafting. Oh, what kind of a ship you would like to see in the game? Don't fucking tell me that's not theory crafting.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking what ship that already exists in the game would you like to use as a mining ship?
Let's see.
The same old cargo ships.
Mining
ships are basically cargo ships. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but so my answer would be the Asp or a Lakon ship because of the view, right? For me being a VR player, I'm not going to go mine in a Python. I'm going to go mine in a Type 9 or an Asp because of the gorgeous cockpit, right? I don't want something contained like the Anaconda or the Python personally, right? I would much rather see a Lakon or and is the crate going to be a Lakon bridge?
DeLacy.
It is okay. It's a DeLacy. Okay. And what's the main focus of the crate? Is it going to be a cargo hauler? Do we think?
Combat. It's a heavy fighter, if I remember right.
Absolute combat fighter.
Yeah, historically in game lore, it was a pirate ship, pure pirate ship.
Okay.
It's also obsolete. In the first Elite in 1984, it had already been discontinued, and you could only keep them going by cannibalizing spare parts. So God knows what this new one's going to be.
It's gonna be Crate Mark II. Basically a tougher crate like I don't know, Viper 4, and basically a piece of shit. Who knows? I mean, it's DeLacy we're talking about. Come on.
I'm gonna take it to Beagle Point because why not?
So we're guessing it's gonna have a shit jump range then, right? Because only you would do that.
Probably.
It should have. I expect it to have a ship jump, right? It should really.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
It's
it's a
kind of
combat
they
ship, so
haven't-
obviously, yeah.
They
They
haven't
did-
released any module sizes for it or the Challenger yet, have they?
No, but the
No.
developers did, actually Sandy did reveal the hard points on the stream.
Yeah, 3 mediums, 3
Okay.
small, 1 large.
On the Challenger.
No, it was
On the
1
Challenger.
large, 3 medium, 2 small.
I thought it was 2 trios and a single.
Nope.
That's what I heard.
If I'm wrong, fellas, do correct me, but
Yeah,
my
I don't
ears
know. If somebody on
tend
stream
not
knows,
to lie
you
about
know,
these things.
chat.
Yeah, somebody will know.
Somebody will correct us.
I got it written down, so unless I'm
Because I thought it
completely
was
wrong,
supposed to be fast or more agile, more hard points, and, or more DPS and more
I
more
mean,
armor.
because
Yeah, but all
if
around
it
as
only
far as I know.
has 2 smalls, then it has the exact same number of hard points as the chieftain. So the quote unquote more hard points would be incorrect.
indeed.
Well, I guess more DPS. I guess that
Nope.
helps with it. Now,
Nope.
what were you trying to say, Ant? Oh, is it not supposed to have more DPS? Than
No,
the
no, no.
Chieftain?
That's the funny thing. They did actually, unless I'm wrong with the hard point amount, right? DPS on Challenger with those with that 1 large, 3 small, and 3 medium, 2 small. That DPS will be slightly lower than Chieftain. Remember, 2 small hard points is more damage dealing than one medium. Remember
right.
that. And if you count
Right.
that with Chieftain's gonna have
Chieftain-
slightly more damage.
You mean Challenger? Okay,
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, Chieftain's gonna have slightly more damage with that. So, unless I'm wrong, which I highly doubt, because I'm impeccable at everything. Yes!
Of course you are.
Yes. Right. Oh, right. So, anyways, about the Challenger, yeah. I think I will return to that later, but we still haven't got an answer from Turjan and
Yeah,
Obsidian. Oh, wait, no, Obsidian actually delved into that a little bit. So,
I think Turjan and you
Yes, I'll go with that.
about credits per hour. Credits per hour.
So, what do you think would be acceptable? Yeah, just acceptable credits.
Don't
in
ask
general.
me. I'm an explorer. I'm an explorer and a storytelling filmmaker. I don't know what credits per hour. As much as I could possibly get. If there's a money-making scheme pops up out of the blue and I need money for something, I'll just go and do it. That would be how much credits per hour I want.
Okay, so basically,
No, but
broken level of volley boom
Yeah,
that I reported
I
for
want-
400 credits an hour,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
A broken level of credit earning when I need it. That suits me fine. The rest of the
That's kinda
time it
what I
could be
do.
like 10, 20 credits an hour. I wouldn't care less because I'm not doing it anyway. But when I want it, I want a broken level of credit earning. That would suit me fine.
All right. Well, here's a better question for you then, Turjan. As an explorer, what do you think exploration, long distance exploration, should pay? I guess it's hard to do that on a per hour basis, but what do you think an explorer should be making?
Yeah, that is a tough one because you get someone like Josh Hawkins there. He's been out for 3.5 years. He's
Yeah.
just not coming back. So he's not exploring for money or anything. He's just out
No,
there.
that's fair. Like
So-
once you got your exploration ship, what do you care at
Yeah.
that point? Is kind of what you're getting to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I certainly don't think this is something that actually annoys me quite a lot with my whole obsession with law and Galnet and all of this thing in the past. I don't see any logical sense in exploring in the bubble. It makes no sense to me at all. If you've got any inhabited system, you shouldn't be able to explore it. Well, that's what maps are for. And Galnet was set up in elite law, as a trade data and news source, but by the Pilots Federation for its own members. That's what it was really for. And they shared trade data and all this stuff. So essentially, if you're a Pilots Federation member, you should have this huge Michelin guide to everything in the bubble, and it should all be known to you. There shouldn't be, I'm going to go here and hit the scanner and, oh, look, there's something unexplored.
And I make money for that.
I cannot understand how you can have a system that has a starport in it of any kind, and some of the planets have commanders' names on. I mean, what, did the people living there not know that this planet was there? What? They missed it when they came here?
They basically reported
They
that
just
data
didn't
to some
go down- yeah.
weird party, right? That
They
doesn't
didn't
want
go
to.
down Unicato and say, "Hey, can you pay me for this data?" They go, "Thank you very much. The people that live there never brought us this information, sir. Thank you for that." You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I would say that if you want to be an explorer, you have to go away from civilization. That was my rule. If you want to make money from it,
So-
go away. Maybe earn like token credits for just updating information. Like
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
maybe an asteroid's gone rogue or something, and your scanner might pick it up. But if you want like new information, it should be worth more because it's out there. Now, there is the first discovery thing, but I think there should be like another one on top of it. That's like inhabited worlds, uninhabited worlds, and undiscovered uninhabited worlds. So you can have a 3-tier rank, so you get paid even more for the ones.
Yeah, so in other words, you would only make real money from exploration if you jumped into a unexplored, untagged system. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah,
Turjan?
that sounds about right. That sounds fair.
I'm not necessarily saying I agree, but I don't think
I
that's
disagree
bad,
completely because again, with science these days, remember it's you discover something. Okay, just because you discovered, I don't know, some sort of fungus in your armpit, right? Doesn't mean that you're gonna get all the money and everyone else studying it further, its applications and so on and so forth in detail, be worthy of any sort of compensation.
But that's what the Earth-like worlds are for. They'll always pay for Earth-like worlds.
That's what the
And they
detailed
should be
surface scanner
always
is
premium.
supposed to be for, and even so,
Yeah.
multiple scans would
So
be
what-
still
Actually,
valuable.
now you mentioned that. That's reminded me of something I was thinking about earlier. Sandy was banging on about these new mining probes and all this surface, this, that, and the other and things. But detailed surface scanners work on landable planets that you can go to, and they also work on atmospheric planets as well. So what are they going to do? Is it still going to do exactly the same job on the landable planets, but you do more with these new probes and things? Or is it somehow magically now not going to work on landable planets, but it'll still give you the same information from the atmospherics? Because they
It's
haven't
space
actually
magic.
said.
It's space magic.
Yeah, they haven't said how they're going to implement that, what the difference is going to be. I'm curious now. We'll find out soon enough, I guess, or not.
Well,
Because they'll tease
gameplay,
us. They'll tease us.
Yeah, probably.
Can you see
probably.
the Discovery Scanner? Can you see the Discovery Scanner? I've dropped it over my shoulder. Can you see the Discovery Scanner? No, you can't. I'm putting it away. That's what it'll do.
Well, Turjan, one question back to exploration credits. What I would say though, I think it would be a bad thing for the game though if payouts for already discovered systems got cut, because I think a lot of new explorers would. Yeah, I think it would take too many people out of exploration initially, right? Because we all know that long haul explorers that don't, like you guys and like Josh Hawkins, that don't come back in is pretty damn rare.
Right? Yeah, not right in the head. Not right in the head.
Well, hey, I've got an alt account that's exactly.
You said it, not we. So
I'm out.
True. It's open knowledge that,
right? Yeah, right. So I do think
it's true. There's a lot of people are scared of exploration because it's just not the bubble. It's just out of their comfort zone. There's nothing there to physically scare people, but they go, oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't possibly go out there in a ship on my own for that length of time and not have anything. So yeah, if there wasn't any sort of reward for exploring stuff in the bubble, people wouldn't do any exploration at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got to admit, I've always seen the detailed surface scanner in the same way TheYamiks describes it, that each time people bring back the data from a certain planet, it's always in addition to what they've already got.
So it's just an update, you're saying, right? Like, that's why it's valuable. It's an update.
Not only like update, but additional information, because again, oftentimes it's just one scan won't do things.
So kind of like where
I
they've
agree
got
with that.
these, I can't remember the name of the project. But when they've got all these telescopes pointing at the stars, and they study it over a certain amount of period of times. Not the Hubble, I think, and they've got everyone's computers using like peer-to-peer networking to analyze it. I think they use the same on SETI as well. Everyone's computers analyzing, adding a little bit more power to and CPU processing to the studying of what's going on. I kind of see it a little bit like that. You're just bringing back a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's
I agree with that. And so, Yamiks, I don't think you answered. Yamiks, I don't think you answered the.
Yes, I was just waiting for that.
But
yeah. Okay, so credits per hour. Okay, let's get down to that stuff. Where's my fucking SRV? Actually, you guys and we actually talked so much that I ran out of fuel for a second there. Anyway, so credits per hour. How do I look at it, and how much would be acceptable for me? Now, I've said in the past that the whole money-making stuff, honestly, while it can work, sure, there just could be better ways of making the game, or rather interest in the game, or increase its gameplay potential. And I've said that in regards of drum roll, and yeah, that'd be progression system. I personally would see rather more interest into making a progression system. You know, you basically pick up a Sidewinder, then you do, I don't know, you turn in one bounty. It doesn't matter what type of bounty, you just turn in one bounty. That means that you killed someone or helped killing someone. There you go. Means that you're interested in combat. Okay, we'll give you, or rather, give you an unlock to an eagle. And no, before you say anything about that sort of a system, no multiple do X amount of this stuff. Just do one thing, and yet that one particular thing that you need to do is relatively harder and harder. I really do hate when, you know, you see in the game, oh, you need to kill like 10 enemies just to get this unlock. I'm like, well, okay, I suppose I could do that. It's not that bad, but when you start to see like 100,000 and so on and so forth, no. I'd much rather have one really relatively hard or challenging task being thrown at me, and now I need to do, you know, that. For example, like to get the chieftain. Perfect example of that would be go kill a Targoid scout, right? It's not that hard to kill a Targoid scout, even if it's just one and you just leg it afterwards. Or you get that one signal source where you get only one Targoid scout. Whatever. You find it. You kill one and then just leg it. And then you can unlock, again, Chieftain, because yeah, again, killing a Targoid scout is not as easy as a normal, you know, human ship. What else? And so on and so forth. There could be different... Huh?
Well, if I can ask, so what you're getting at is a skill-based progression rather than a grind-based progression.
Yes,
totally agree.
Because grind is not a substitute to challenge.
Completely agree.
So there you go. That's what I've been saying for quite a bit of time. So there you go. Yeah, that's of course my idea. No, fair. Your idea of you know, progression, or perhaps you're like devs that say, you know, there's not supposed to be any sort of a progression, and yet you shouldn't get Anaconda or any of the big 3 ships right off the gate. But what? That doesn't make sense. You're saying there's no progression, then what's the point of gating off those ships, right?
Yeah, might as well have them right at the start.
Exactly. Then decide. Tell me what's the, you know, reasoning for gating off ships. So that's the thing. And I said that, yeah, the game would be probably even more interesting than it is right now if you could at least pick up the biggest, or at least half of the ships right off the gate without much problem, right? Or rather, without even bothering to do anything, you know. If you can just simply pick up a new account and jump into, I don't know, let's say, ass ship, right? The Federal Assault ship. I would be fine with that even now, because there's plenty of things to do in this game, and if you're not bothered with grinding fucking credits, you can actually do what you want and explore and enjoy the game. Because, well, even, yeah, today I was filming multiple different places, unique places. Like the brain trees, like currently what I am in Guardian site. You know, these places are quite interesting, you know, at least to visit once or twice.
Great.
And that's the thing. But you're visiting these things, especially Guardian sites these days, to grind for fucking tech brokers, or I don't know, for materials or something.
Yeah.
I'd much rather turn up on one place maybe once or twice a year to just look at them because I like the look of it, rather than be forced to, you know, if I want to unlock something, be forced to go and do something ad nauseum until the breaking point where I really consider landable planets nothing but a place where you go to grind. That's what a lot of people tend to get the, you know, rather impression. A planet is where you go to grind for engineers.
You'd like to see everything move away from grind a bit more and more towards
no,
personal narrative,
again,
yeah? You want personal narrative?
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
Yeah, God.
Someone asked me to ask you that.
Yeah,
Top quality.
Fucking memes, mate. Okay, well, anyways. So, yeah, okay. Returning to the whole question about the credits, right? 100 credits an hour should be basically end game levels of, you know, credit grinding, or other credits levels, as a proper job. But that should be with combats. Things like trading, simple, legit trading should be half that at least. Exploration would be 25, that is at least twice as lucrative as it is right now. Although exploring, I don't know. Oh yeah, honestly, exploring is just a flat line, so it should be somewhere around 25 million an hour when you get all the modules. Because, let's say, a ship that costs about 10 to 15 million in total upgrades and all that stuff, like, you know, Diamondback Explorer and so on and so forth, with proper modules and so on and so forth, should be making 25 an hour. And everything else after that. For example, something like a hauler, which still is being used as an exploratory vehicle, or shit bucket and whatnot else. That thing, give or take 5 million an hour, that would be good for a beginner. Who knows that, you know, you can do that. Anyways, but when it comes down to, well, it's hard to say one specific sort of, you know, level of credit grinding, because the way the game is structured right now, I believe, honestly think, I do think that getting up to Vulture, to the level of like 6 million, 10 million total assets, is fine. The game leads you perfectly fine up until that point. Once you get Asp Explorer, once you get Vulture, then the grind starts. Because upgrades for those ships are fucking crazy, and of course next ships in the line are also fucking expensive, and there's no real way of properly making any money, and you're just left there wondering and, you know, just masturbating just furiously because you can't do anything. You don't have a ship to make a lot of money, and yet you need a lot of money to get a better ship to make more money, and that's how it feels at that particular point. Either they need to, well, insert, in fact, okay, well, right, so credit progression. So essentially, depending on your, well, level, or rather elite rank in specific area, you should be making, of course, more money. But because that particular ranking in elite, be that exploration, combat, or trading, they are... especially combat is hard to get higher and higher, so it's hard to say whether or not it would be a good idea to tie credit, you know, rewards to your elite ranks. But that's what most people tend to think about. And if they restructured, you know, again, those elite ranks properly, like, you know, proper progression levels, then yeah, you would be able to tie money making, you know, mission rewards to them. Because it really does feel quite insulting when you, as an elite pilot, with all 3 elites, are asked to do a fucking mission for less than 100 credits.
Yeah. No shit.
And I mean, I don't mean 100,000. I mean fucking 100 credits.
Yeah,
That's,
no, I'm with you.
That's
I've seen that.
stupid.
Yeah.
It's like
We all have.
phoning up Brad Pitt and saying, could you come round to do a pantomime for my local school, please? You know, we'll give you a cup of tea.
And that's the only job that person can get. Okay, fine, I understand, but this is about the whole world. It's like, oh, well, you're an elite pilot. Well, we have only small jobs to offer you. Okay, that's fine. Then that same pilot goes to another system, a big, very very advanced starport, right? And still sees those little jobs and thinks to himself, well, the fuck is going on with the job market, right? That doesn't make sense. And the thing is also about the credit. Well, if you're talking about the current state of you know, missions and credits and so on and so forth, it's highly unbalanced because, let's say, Exiguous.
No, I was just laughing. You're right.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm ranting at this point, so I'm just waiting for someone to either stop me or something. But anyways, so the current way that you make money is just so weird and skewed towards one specific place, that is the mission board. Because it used to be that in a high-res site you could make a decent chunk of money, and missions were actually underpaying heavily. I remember back when the game just came out, that was the case pretty much. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, that's what I remember. But anyways, now basically if you want to make money, you're not gonna do normal trading, you're not gonna do normal exploration, you're not gonna do anything normal outside of missions. You're just gonna go to mission boards and pick up missions because that's where the money is, and that's fair, sure. But even then, when you look up at missions that are offered to you, for example, trading, right? A simple trading or passenger mission, doesn't matter which one it is, they pay so much more than a combat mission, than, you know, it just starts to make you wonder what the fuck is going on. Because there's absolutely no risk and reward sort of a gameplay in this fucking game at all. It doesn't feel like it, at least. When you look at, again, combat missions, the fucking high-res sites are horribly underpaying, even though you're basically putting your life on the line completely, constantly, and yet a fucker in a goddamn... I'd say even a goddamn adder can make a lot more money by just, you know, not putting his ship on the line or life on the line, and using that to, well, transport a rich asshole to some place. There's no risk. He does it in just, you know, a couple of hours and still makes more money than you know, shedding tears and sweat and whatnot else. This is not real life. This is a game. This is a piece of entertainment where we need to get at least some sort of sense of fairness. And
yeah, exactly. It's about getting a hold of escapism from real life to start with.
Exactly, and that's the thing. This game, just like with any other,
doesn't mean you want to grind in a game, does it?
Indeed. And when you start to see basically the same sort of disparity and especially grind in a game where you just want to relax or, you know, pick up a ship and, you know, do a couple of things with it in that particular 2-3 hour session. Well, I understand Elite is a simulator. I understand Elite is basically a, you know, well, a slow game, let's just say so. Everything comes slowly. But even when you think, oh, okay, I'm gonna put, you know, a bigger risk in front of me so I can progress slightly faster, I still get punished for doing so. And it just... there's no logic in it. That's the thing. There's no risk and reward, and therefore you really you're already having a hard time distinguishing, you know, what type of money amount you should be making. Your perception is, well, either getting distorted or you're just accepting it as the truth and just being a nihilist in some ways. There's nothing. I mean, I'm a nihilist, sure, but fucking hell.
So there not being enough risk there.
Okay, so
do you think that some of that comes down to the player base not wanting too much risk, though? I do remember back when the engineers first come out, the AI was
players are stupid,
a lot more powerful than it is now.
Players are stupid like myself, and players need to accept changes that the designer has, you know, chosen. Yes, you can question them, but when it comes down to let's just imagine a designer that is, you know, designing a game because of one specific or a couple of specific principles and making it work with those principles in mind. then, well, you can't really bitch too much about the game not being like the other ones because, well, it wasn't intended to be like this one. But in Elite, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that... Okay, I haven't heard Sandy say, or any other designer say, that, you know, there's no risk and reward. If they actually came out and said that this game is not supposed to be with risk and reward in mind, this game is supposed to be by X, Y, and Z values, we're gonna make missions by those values, and here comes the communication with the community, and that's how the game is supposed to run. If you say out loud like that, then we understand. But even so, I think that a piece of art, a piece of work, a creative work should speak for itself and tell you how it's supposed to be played, how it's supposed to be, you know, kind of used, or what it is about. Dark Souls is a good example, right? In Dark Souls, you can't just go around charging, even though you could try. The game punishes you and forces you to be pragmatic. In this game, the game forces you to think that, okay, putting your life on the line doesn't matter. Go for the quote-unquote exploits. I hate to use that word. Basically money trains, instead of actually playing the game. Or search a way to get around the developer. That's what the game has taught me. Go and try and just go behind developers' back, basically. Try and find that crack in the wall the developer has left. That's what the game has taught me to search for, rather than gameplay.
Yeah, the thing is, you'll hear people say to you that that's your fault because you're playing the game wrong. That's not an opinion I agree with, but you'll often see that statement.
Yes, and that's what I talked about.
You're not playing it how it's meant to be played.
The game, or rather piece of entertainment, well, in this case, again, gaming. The game should tell you what it is about. The game should be capable of, you know, expressing through its gameplay, or story, or whatever other means inside of it, how it should be played, right? In Elite, well, the obvious perception is that blaze your own trail like a Rastafarian, right? Okay, fine. So you do whatever you want. So that implies it's a sandbox, okay, and so you can do whatever you want, fine. But then there's also that extra layer of gating off content, like, you know, ships with the credit grinds and so on and so forth. So then comes in the question, okay, so how that grind should be done properly, right? And, well, there comes the risk and reward into play. Fairness. So
going back to the mining thing we talked about right at the start. We've got the three different
full circle.
Well, the four different forms of mining, yeah. One being the existing one plus the three new ones.
Yep.
They've mentioned a few times they're going to be risk with that. At LaveCon, they said you never know what's coming out of the asteroids. Maybe the asteroids.
They said that you might eventually learn to predict these things. So, assumingly they will put in some sort of hint, or again, humans tend to look for coincidences and so on and so forth. Unless they put in completely random events into them, which would be really stupid. It could be completely
random, couldn't it? Or it could be a flashing light come up on the HUD just saying, move, something's about to explode.
Yeah.
Alternatively, it could be more skill-based. Yeah, is that the sort of thing you'd like to see even in mining? That risk versus reward. Is the idea of you putting deep core mining and nuclear charges or whatever sort of charges they're going to put into these asteroids and them explode.
Already said that.
Is that enough of a risk for you? Is that the sort of thing?
When it comes to mining, I honestly didn't expect such a fidelity from it, which is nice to see. If it works well, again, we don't know how it will work. So that's the issue for me. With mining, honestly, I don't expect it to be really that difficult, or usually in other games, RuneScape, there we go, or Eve or any other game that has mining. Usually mining is just that tedious work that you know, you do, but you know, you progress because you spend time with no risk, right? Sure, with trading on the other hand, you have piracy, and well, of course, with the way mining is in Elite and Eve, of course, piracy and other things come into play. So it actually makes piracy more dangerous than actual raiding and smuggling, I'd say. Smuggling is a good question. Whether or not it is more dangerous than mining, that's a different question. But still, they both are quite more dangerous than, you know, honest, proper trading. So that would stand to reason, you know, that you, with your fiddle fucking around, of course, and of course involved risk in it, would give you the most money of all the trading subtypes. That is, the default trading, the smuggling, and the passenger missions, right? So, in fact, I do think that after the new changes, even right now, even as it is right now, mining should be more lucrative than passenger missions, trading, smuggling, and whatever else there is when it comes down to trade-like, you know, things. Aside from piracy. Piracy is definitely a lot more dangerous, so it should be a lot more also lucrative than mining. But that's my hierarchy there, so that's mine.
Okay, how do you other guys feel? Do you think there should be a lot of risk, not just in combat, but in mining and like exploration? Should there be risk everywhere in Elite, or should there be some areas of the game where you can just go and know you're always going to be safe no matter what?
I think there should be some safe havens, and I would almost call exploration that somewhat safe haven. I mean, there's very little risk in exploration, but I would think just about everything else, for me personally, I think the risk is what makes the game fun, right? I mean, you know, like if I'm trading and I get pirated by an actual PvP pirate, to me, that's fun, right? You know, that kind of gameplay and interacting with somebody else is, you know, and the risk that's added, again, we're not talking scrubs that are just going to, you know, blow you up, right? But I personally, that's, yeah, I mean, I think that's additive to that sort of gameplay, right? So, but at the same time, like I said, I think there should be some kind of safe havens, and for me, exploration is the easy, natural fit for that.
What do you think, Turjan?
Well, it's one of these things where it's why you're playing the game, isn't it? What you want out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an awful lot of older players playing Elite. This is why people even came up with the words forum dad, because there's just a much higher demographic of older people playing this game. There's a lot. Remember the original from '84.
But you saying they're all risk adverse?
No, I'm saying they just don't have time. A lot of them are probably high-flying executives, and they know what risks are and investment and all that kind of stuff. But they just don't have the time. They got a wife, they got kids, they got a family going. You've got a limited amount of time to have as your hobby and your pastime. Time was before you used to sit outside in the shed and do a bit of potting or something, you know. But these days, you've got your game here, and this is it. You've only got a couple of hours. So if there's too much risk, because all of the people are clamoring for a nice bit of risk. Give me more risk, you bastards! If they're all clamoring for that, then you'll end up upsetting people that are loyal but quiet, and that's the trouble with people at the other end of the demographic, because if people are playing a game for a bit of relaxation, they're not as likely to kick up a vocal fuss than people who are in things for excitement, because they'll kick up much more of a fuss if something isn't right for them before, you know, the relaxed people will. But yeah, as far as the game goes, for me, there's very little risk in it because I don't go looking for it. You know, I don't tend to take missions that have stupidly high numbers of bad guys chasing me around. I don't go around looking for PvP. I spend a lot of time exploring if I'm not shooting. So from my perspective, it's a very, very low risk game. And it's just how you choose to play it.
Yeah.
You can go and get a lot of risk if you want. You can fly your ship out to Beagle Point with no canopy if you want.
Yeah.
A bit of risk.
Idiot. What kind of idiot?
If you're
would do
sniffing,
that?
if you're sniffing farts all day and don't think that there's anything better to do in the game, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Paroxsym?
Everything needs to have some level of risk to it, at least to me. Otherwise, it's just not
exploration
that
shouldn't.
fun.
That's
Well,
again,
yeah,
unless
see,
again you're cooking
yeah,
yourself
me-
for fun. Yeah.
Well, you gotta say, let me get there
that's it.
with
I mean,
exploration, because
exploration, yeah, it has
itself-
risk now.
Yeah,
Because
has
the trouble is,
yeah.
when you lose everything. It's not
Right.
like you lose two
Yeah.
or three bounties you picked up in a house res and you can go and restock or something. If you're exploring and you crash your ship out there, you've been out there for 3-4 months, you lose
Yeah, the chances
everything.
are
So
you're not-
what tiny risk there is more of
huge.
a risk because of the loss.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and for me, with exploration, that's probably enough. I mean, you don't want to push it too far, because that's when there's a certain demographic that's going to be like, yeah, this isn't worth it for me anymore. Peace out. And so that's something you have to keep in mind. I think with exploration, we're there. With combat, though, especially PvE combat, I don't really feel threatened that much anymore. Ever.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I can actually elaborate on this one.
Yeah.
So in LaveCon, I
Yeah.
did talk with Sarah Jane Avery. So those of you that don't know, she's the master of the minions, or she basically does the AI stuff on AIs again. And she actually did talk a little bit about the whole making bots easier or harder and so on and so forth. That everyone is yelling that bots are too hard or bots are too easy, and there's no middle ground. But well, you already have a tool in game for that middle ground. Novice or the harmless and elite ranks, right? Kind of make their AIs slightly tipped towards one specific end, I suppose, to make them challenging. And then again, yeah, you can't really make the ships really OP just to increase the challenge. Sure, yeah, you can make a really shit AI and yet just put extreme amounts of damage onto it and call it a day. But who here actually thinks that that's a good design? I'd much rather have a
Not me.
tough... Again, if you've ever played Dark Souls, right? Dark Souls? Anyone? I love Dark Souls, but anyways, yeah, so you'll know what a real fucking challenge is, and how even, a relatively easy bots and whatnot else, or easy to kill targets, can still be extremely challenging if they are, coded properly and made in an interesting way. And honestly, yeah, when it came down to it, I still do love the whole Targoid stuff. Unfortunately, they are pushing in those Guardian weapons that basically ruin the fun of actually, killing them. Because right now, what's the point of using basically a squirt gun to kill them? Now you got the proper weapon, right? Instead of that, just how about make them more challenging? Or whatever. That's I'm rambling. Never mind me. Carry on.
I mean, for me in particular, just like combat, I don't think is dangerous enough, at least at the top end of things. So it doesn't really hold my interest as much anymore. That's why I've turned to PvP as my source of fun and combat now, because other players, especially, because like other players, especially ones that are experienced in PvP, like, yeah, right now they're better than I am for the most part, especially right now because I'm super rusty. But I have way more
Sure,
fun
excuse
fighting them.
yourself, Paroxsym.
I haven't
Right.
hardly done any PvP since.
Right. You were
October.
good, and now you're rusty. You scrub. Yeah, right.
You know what? I will log in right now. I will whoop your ass. Come on.
Oh, okay. After the official part of the stream, let's do it.
It's
Yeah.
on.
Oh, I'll take you on too, Proxim. I'm up for that challenge. I think this could be fun.
Yes.
Maybe
Oh,
we need
this
to
is-
do
Don't like
maybe
Donkey
we need
Kong.
to do a PvP stream next week.
Oh God,
It's
no.
not like
No,
Donkey
next
Kong.
week. Remember, folks. Next week, in fact, we're gonna
Yeah, we'll
talk
actually
about
have
the
the
new
update,
actually.
changes.
Yeah, we
and,
will. That's right. That's
I'll,
right.
I'll
I'll
that's
have the
not-
Challenger. I'll have the Challenger fully outfitted, and I'll be dinking with it all damn day.
So yeah, tune in for that one. As for today, actually, it's been 2 hours. Are we cutting it here, or do we have anything else we want to poke and prod?
I think
I
2
think-
hours is a good point if everyone else is all right with that.
I think we've beaten this horse
Yep, sure.
dead enough.
Fantastic. Okay, well, so anyways, yeah, I don't know, anyone else wants to do the ending remarks, or should I?
No, you can go ahead. Just
Okay,
let everyone
good.
know that on our respective streams we'll be hanging around for a few more minutes.
Yep, everybody will.
Stop
Yeah.
talking here. And
Right, so, anyways, yeah, so as I said, yeah, this will be it for today and all that stuff, so hopefully everyone enjoyed the streams that we did, be that Paroxsyms, mine, or Exiguous's, or Obsidian's. I don't think Turjan is streaming, but anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed our little talks and all that stuff. If I talk too much, well, what can I say? That's just me. And others were just too cowardly to interrupt me. So there you go. Blame your own respective creators, not me. I'm never infallible. Anyways, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Again, thanks to everyone watching. Of course, big thanks to Exiguous, Turjan, Turjan Starstone that is, Obsidian Ant, and Paroxsym for tuning in. And yours truly...
yeah, thank you.
For just,
Thanks,
I guess, not
hosting us again.
making, yeah, stopping
Moderating
people,
us.
maybe not. Rather, completely stopping conversation dead in the tracks. But anyways, I'll be hanging around after the stream a little bit, and yeah, we'll pretty much gonna see you next week on Friday, pretty much the same time. So tune in then, and yeah. The new update is coming out, so there will be... Oh, be excited! Yes, exciting things are coming, indeed. But no, probably gonna be just yet another bunch of little changes and so on and so forth. I'm really curious to see quality of life, but that's just me. Challenger, of course, as well. But anyways, I've talked long enough. Yeah, so anyways, I talked enough. Again, all the current or today's participants are found on YouTube, so go check out their names once more. I'm TheYamiks. Exiguous was the voice. Do a voice. I don't know.
Yeah, Exiguous here.
So there you go.
I'm not doing a Yamiks voice. Sorry.
Okay, well, fine. Just the sound off. Turjan. Turjan's dead.
I'll give you a voice.
Turjan's here. There you go.
Okay, so that's Turjan, ladies and gents.
Turjana. Why?
Okay. Obsidian Ant.
Obsidian Ant.
Okay, and Paroxsym.
Hey.
No, see,
Okay.
Obsidian needs to give us a I'll catch you guys and gals next time.
I'll catch you guys and girls next time.
There
Hey.
you go.
Hey,
There you go, right.
That's what you want to hear. That's what you tuned in for.
So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week then. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you as well. Yeah, alright, enough. Thanks, and bye.
Done. Thank you.
Right, and that ends the official part of the stream, or rather just together thingamajig. Let me turn back the alerts back on. Right, actually, what's the point anyway? So there were no tips, so I guess I say no thanks to anyone and all that stuff. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the stream and all that stuff, again, please do subscribe and all that stuff, at least to me, and of course the rest of the guys as well, if you want. It's up to you. And hey, if you enjoyed my work in the past or now, all I can say is do consider becoming a patron. Now, link in the description as well, and oh, and of course, Streamlabs for tips, but I recommend using that on the streams and what else. I mean, Streamlabs, Super Chats, and so on and so forth. If you want to support your fluffy bunny content creator. Anyways. Yeah, as I said, next week we're tuning in. As for my own streams, I might do one tomorrow. After that. In any case, if you want to see all the other content creator roundtable stream archives, there's a playlist in my channel, so you can check that. And I guess that'll be it. Yay! That'll be it for today. Have a great Friday, and summer solstice, in fact, actually is coming on, so enjoy that. I'll maybe stream then. We'll see. With that aside, take care, and I'll see you next time and all that stuff.